Hi, and thanks so much for joining me for my top powders of 2021. If you'd like to see that, please keep watching. To me, powders are make or break type products because sometimes everything will look really beautiful, foundation, concealer, and then powder gets added and it can ruin the makeup or it can make it better. So that's why I think I only have very few powders, because although I've tried a lot, there are very few that I think, yes, you made my makeup look better. I think the powder has a lot of heavy lifting, so it's gotta be excellent. So let's start with the one that I've been loving for not just this year, but in the past. It's the Peau loose powder. I love this loose powder because it's very gossamer-like. It looks like it wouldn't work my skin tone, but it is translucent. So I love this one with a puff. So putting it on with a puff and then going in with a finishing powder. So the reason I would do this is to extend the longevity of makeup. So if I know I need it to really stay put but look really pretty, I will go in with this. It is an extra step, so I don't do this all the time, but this is a lovely one for that. So can't say enough about Peau foundations, concealers, and powder products. They are amongst the most beautiful that I've seen. I only have two loose powders here, and the second one is this one I had to mention. It's the Rodial glass powder. Now this one I don't apply with a puff, which is interesting because most loose powders I will use a puff. I use just a fluffy brush with this one and it just sets so beautifully. Again, another gossamer type powder. This also looks like it would not work on my skin tone, but it does. It's translucent on my skin tone as well. I hope this is more widely available soon or in the new year. I will keep my eye open for anything that pops up so you can try it as well. But I know at least a couple of you have had a chance to try it and know that this is a really stunning powder. So gorgeous. Now that's it for my loose powders. I also have more standard powders, pressed powders, and my pressed powders that I like are the Gucci in shade 5. Now this one does have a bit of a reflective quality about it, so it's not like just a matte powder. It does have just the slightest bit of a reflective quality, so I just have to be careful not to add it to the front of my face too heavily, because otherwise it emphasizes pores. So just going in with a light layer there, and then I can add more powder to the exterior. But it's a beautiful shade match for me. So shade 5 in the Gucci. Another great standard powder is the Airbrush powder by Charlotte Tilbury. I still love this one. I just have so many to choose from, but if I was going to go in and set with just a pressed powder, this would be a good one. This is in the shade 1, although this looks too light for me. Actually, this is a really good shade match. Shade 2, medium, is one that will give me color. So this one helps to maintain whatever shade I have on my foundation, whatever shade of foundation I have on my face is not impacted by this. But shade 2 will make my foundations look darker, so that's why I go in with this one. This is lovely for under the eye if you like to set under the eye. I don't anymore because I can see more texture. It looks more makeup-y on me, but if I were to choose a powder for under eye, this would be one that would work really well. I use this under makeup, and this is the only powder I've found that works well as a primer. It's the Sisley Blur Expert Powder, and it works beautifully under makeup. I forgot to put it on today. I wanted to put it on so you could see. I haven't used it in a while, but anytime I've used this with any foundation, it just makes the foundation look better. So I forgot to include this in the game changers now that I think about it, because I haven't used it in that long, but looking back over the last year and the powders I've used, this one is very special. I don't like it on top of makeup though, strangely enough, only under foundation. This is not a surprise. Perfect Blur Powder by Chantecaille. This is the 4th one I've had. So I've gone to pan on one, almost on pan in another. I have one going, and this is my new one that I'm waiting to use because I want to use my other ones first, but I will definitely get to this one for sure. This one's in light medium. There are 2 shades in this, but this works perfectly with my skin tone. It's got a nice peachy tone, does some color correcting for me, blurs the imperfections like texture as well as discoloration. So if I go in with something that's not as heavy duty in terms of coverage, I can go in with this and it'll help with the discoloration as well. So you knew this had to be in here somewhere. Then we've got this powder that I don't really talk about. Maybe if I had it in a different shade, you'd hear about it more, but I use it kind of in the background with my sunscreen. So I use the Even Up sunscreen, which is too light for me. It has a white cast. So this one has some color to it. It's in 3 Sandy. Yeah. 3 Sandy, and I use it to bring the color back. It's a really beautiful setting powder. It reminds me a little bit of the Charlotte Tilbury, but the reason you don't see it on camera is because it's too deep for me. I may hit pan on this though. That's how much I use this, and it is a really beautiful finish. That's probably why you have not heard of it very much here, because I don't use it on camera. We have a beautiful finishing powder, and unfortunately I don't think this is available anywhere, but I did need to mention this because this Guerlain powder is stunning. It's so pretty. I'm sorry, I didn't open it. It's the Meteorites. Looks like it's not gonna work for me because it looks like it's going to be too light. However, I think I said this before, I think because there's no lavender in there, I think that's what was throwing it off for me in the medium shade. There's too much like purple in there and pink. This one doesn't have that. It has more warm tones in it, and even though it's lighter, it works really well. In fact, I have it on now. It's got the most beautiful ethereal look without looking chalky, because that was another thing I was worried about, is that those little white pearls in there would look chalky on my complexion, but they don't. Really pretty powder. So if you got your hands on this, let me know, and let me know if you like it as much as I do. I just now remembered another one I need to throw in here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, one more. And this is in the palette, but I have it in an individual as well. The finishing powders by Hourglass are gorgeous. So they don't all have the same level of shimmer. I'm gonna say they look a little bit different, but the two that I love are Radiant Light, this one, and I also love Dim Light. But they just are a skin perfecting kind of product that does a job that I think powders need to do, because they're the last step. So mattifying, perfecting in terms of texture and color. So if there's a little bit of color correcting in there. So I think the job of a powder is to do that, is to set and perfect. And if it doesn't do that, that's why I didn't make it in here, because either it didn't set my makeup as well as some of the other ones, or didn't perfect in terms of the texture or discoloration, because I need it to do all of those things. And I know that's asking a lot of a product, but that's why there were only very few here. But now I think that I count them, there are 8. But there are some different jobs in here, like some are again loose, some are pressed, some are finishing powders. So I'm very, very picky about my powders, but those are the ones that I love. Let me know what you've been loving. What else do I need to be trying? I'd love to know. I have so many powders. I should probably show you at some point the powders that I have that I didn't love, because there are also, I think there are more powders that I don't love than that I do love. But that is it for today's video, so please take care of each other. Stay well. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you next time.